Eat in Color. If you haven't already hopped on her feed and followed along, it has got the most amazing color and suggestions for getting kids to, picky kids or not picky kids, getting them to eat fruits and veggies. So can't wait to talk to her. Let me hop her on. Give me just a second. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Poppy. Hey, girls. Hey, Mandy and friends. Hi,
Hello.
Jennifer. Hi. Welcome to my Lunch and Listen.
Thank you for having me.
So happy. You were a busy lady, probably because you're so busy making all those beautiful lunches and meals. You are such a resource, a rich resource, kind of like vegetables, right? You really are for parents who are looking to get their kids to eat healthy. And I know that you have to put in a few processed things here and there just because of sanity. And I saw that on your website too. It's true. I mean, you have to be able to be flexible, but I just kind of hear from you. And hello, everybody that's hopping on. Again, it's Kelsey with the Bloom Mom Tribe, and I'm speaking with Jennifer Anderson of Kids Eat in Color. So welcome, and please just start at the beginning and tell us about you before you became Kids Eat in Color.
Okay, so before I became me, it probably all started when I graduated from college and went to work at a food bank coordinating youth nutrition programs. And I just saw how much food played a role in kids' health and their success in school. And that's where I got interested in it. My husband, we had just gotten married, and he was like, you should go back and get a master's degree. And I was like, I don't know about that. I know I'm going back to school for prerequisites so that I could get a master's. Well, I ended up getting a master's in nutrition and public health. And I actually, around the time that I graduated, I got pregnant and I just needed a family-friendly job. And so I was like, well, I'll just take whatever is family friendly that comes my way. And I ended up working as a consultant to the USDA for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Eventually got pretty bored and was like, meanwhile, my son was falling off the growth chart. And I was like, I guess I have to essentially become a specialist in child feeding because my kid needs it. And I was making him these cute little bento lunches to keep him interested in eating at preschool. And I thought, well, maybe I should share this. I can't be the only mom having a hard time.
Right. The struggle for kids is real. And that's just lunch. That's only one meal of the day.
Just lunch.
Oh my gosh.
So 3 years ago, I started Kids Eat in Color as a way to help other moms. And just kind of learn about social media and have a creative outlet, and I guess kind of keep myself motivated a little bit too to keep making these lunches. And next thing I know, took on a life of its own.
It did take on a life of its own. You have so many followers, and look at all of your people hopping on and saying hello. I mean, it took on a life of its own, and you make that sound easy, but you must have had to do so much work to do the blog and all the things, all the resources that you put together, and just creatively thinking about the meals and not just setting it out in front of your kid, but how to get them to eat it. So what have you done? And I know you've got 2 boys, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you're in Maryland. Right? So what have you done to teach yourself about all this? I mean, besides your college, and all the extra schooling, what have you done to learn how to create, like on social media and on your website and all those things? What did you do, or is that just kind of self-taught?
So, oh my gosh, what have I done? I mean, what have I done? What have I not done in the past 3 years?
As an entrepreneur, you've done it all.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously from a professional standpoint, I'm a registered dietitian, so I have to do continuing education. And so I've done plenty of education as far as like children, pediatric, nutrition, reading technical books and articles and so many journal articles, and all that stuff. And then as far as like learning about Instagram and I mean, I was like an Instagram first person, and I truly never had any intention of like doing anything other than like I don't know, having an Instagram account, you know? Like
Yeah.
people are like, well, would you ever want to do this for a living? And I was like, no, how would that work? I mean, as early as maybe like a year and a half ago, people asked me if I was going to, you know, like leave my job. And I was like, I'd be crazy to leave my job. It's a good job. I like my colleagues, you know, I have a steady paycheck, all that
Right.
stuff. But yeah, so I mean, I've definitely done a lot of self-study as far as you know, like how to best engage with people in Instagram. But my undergraduate work was actually in cultural anthropology. And believe it or not, cultural anthropology is all about understanding people and understanding how they see the world and how they kind of draw meaning from it and how they learn to act. And so that combined with public health was really a good way for me to understand, like, not just come to social media as like, oh, this is all about me, and I'm just going to post these cute lunches that I'm making for my son, which I was, but it was always like, what do you need from this? I'm not just here for myself. I'm here for you. What do you need? And it turns out what you need is information about, like, maybe some nutrients, maybe some tips and tricks that are evidence-based that you can implement to get your kids to eat. Maybe you just need me to give you a pat on the back and remind you that you're doing a good job.
Right. So true. You really have honed in on your audience and what they need. And I think that's what makes you so successful. Now, do you still have your full-time job, or did you have to quit?
I just quit January 3rd.
Oh my goodness sakes. It's not
Yeah.
even been a month. Okay,
Yeah.
Congratulations though.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm still trying to, like, you know, catch up from the holidays and a month later.
I
And,
am
like,
too. What is that
which
normal?
takes
I don't
a
feel
lot
like
of
that's normal.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's normal. Okay, Paige said that your hair looks beautiful. And
Oh, thank you.
no, hola to such a messy mom. So many people on here saying hi. So we'll have to, I'm trying to catch those as we're talking. But so tell us the first, and you use bento, that kind of bento idea. So what lunch boxes do you normally, you know, go to?
So, as my husband Paul will tell you, I have a lunchbox problem, probably.
You hoard.
But I justify it because now it's my job, right?
Right. You have an excuse. You have an excuse.
But yeah, I mean, I have a wide variety of lunch boxes. And of course, like, companies have sent me their lunch boxes too, because they want me to try them out and see what I like. Currently, my go-tos for my older one. So when they were younger, they ate a very small amount of food. So I used a very small lunch box. So there's some that are like this big. You could get them from like Eco Lunchbox. They're pretty small. Lunch box also has a square that is great for like a younger kid, like 3-4-year-old. And I sometimes use that for my 4-year-old. And then I also use another Lunchbox one that is for my 4-year-old. My 6-year-old finally started eating a little bit more, and now I'm packing him a bigger lunch, and I'm currently using the Planet Box.
Yeah, that's the one that we have. Yeah.
Like, which name? I don't know. Maybe it's the Rover. I'm not exactly
I can't think of the names either. They're different names, yeah. But the Planet one is the one I use too. I tell you, I have the worst time keeping that clean. You can't put those in the dishwasher, can you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I put everything in the dishwasher.
Do you? Okay, that makes me feel better, because some days I'm just too lazy and I'm like, I can't get this to look. I like it to look brand new and clean, not like it's been down.
It may not look brand new, clean out of the dishwasher, but I have let that go a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, as long as like it's actually clean and like the food junk is out of there and stuff, I'm happy. But if it's got like water drops or whatever,
You're over it. Okay, someone says, do you use a stainless steel lunchbox? Well, I know the Planet is stainless steel. Are the other ones from Lunchbox also?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone asked a question about cow milk, and I'm not sure it already went up. I don't know if you can see it. If not, can you re-ask that question about
Yeah. So almond, soy, rice milk for 1-year-old, yay or nay. My son can drink cow milk. I do it for variety's sake. So for a 1-year-old, almond milk is not a good, it's not nutrient dense enough for a toddler. So you would want to stick to cow, soy, or pea milk for a toddler. That would be
Cow,
200.
soy, or what?
Pea milk.
Oh, like peas, like the green peas?
Yeah, like
I didn't
there's
know it was a thing.
Yeah, it's called Ripple. Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so
Unless you have an allergy to one of those 3 things, then you would need to go outside. But at that point, that would be another company.
okay, that's great. Yes, Rua Star Planet is the name of, I think it's called Planet Box,
Yeah.
right? Planet is the brand we were talking about. And someone else mentioned, okay, let's get to this. Someone else mentioned that it's kind of that mentality of a Happy Meal, and that's what kids want. So that bento is really great. Someone asked about oat milk for a 1-year-old. I don't know if you mentioned oat milk.
No, only for 1 year. I mean,
Yeah.
if you like put a little bit in for like, cooking here and there, or maybe it went in a smoothie, like that's fine. But as a beverage, we want them either drinking something very nutrient dense, which would be milk, soy milk, cow's milk, soy milk, goat milk, or any animal milk really, or
Breast
soy
milk.
milk, pea milk, breast milk, right? And then if it's not one of those 4, then you would want to stick with just water and other things, unless there's an allergy.
Right. Okay, someone says, I have a son with ADHD and some sensory processing issues. So what about the stainless steel? Maybe they don't like that. I mean, I have a neighbor who she's 19 and she still can't wear her socks normally. She has to wear them inside out. It's just a sensory thing. So
Right. Yeah.
how do you do that?
I haven't, so there's a whole bunch of different bento lines. If something about the stainless steel is bothering them sensory wise, you could try a plastic one. There's the Omi box, the Bentgo, there are some less expensive ones that I'm trying to think of the name. I actually have a lunchbox highlight on my feed if you want to reference that.
Yes.
And then I have like all these linked in my Amazon store, but I'm trying to think. There's a bunch of plastic ones that might work. There's also one called Bentology that's plastic.
Okay. Okay, so that's really good to know that you have a link on Amazon. So people, any of the things that she's loving and she's using for her kids, she's got that up on her Amazon. Someone asked, I don't know if I can get that. Oh, Omnibox is a great non-stainless option too. Oh, I can go. I didn't realize I could go back and read these. Okay. Jess asks, if a 1-year-old drinks cow's milk, eats cheese and yogurt daily, is that too much dairy?
I recommend 2 to 3 servings max per day. Kids don't have to eat dairy to be healthy. Keep that in mind. But if you choose to serve dairy, then 2 to 3 servings max is plenty.
Okay, good to know. Here's one more question from Art Melly. Have you experienced shaming? This is a good question. When you try to give a healthy lifestyle for kids, but your kids' friends and your friends think that it's better to have the Happy Meal mentality because it's what most kids want. That's kind of where I came up with the Happy Meal mentality. But yeah, that's the shaming. Right. It's true. So or the judging. The judging.
Right. I would say my kids have not experienced it that much yet. The school that their preschool, the kids were actually really encouraged to bring their own lunches. And then the food that they bring in is pretty, it's pretty standard, and they serve it on a plate. So they haven't really come home expressing any, bad experiences. That said, obviously, they will encounter something like that. We just know that that's super common for kids, especially as they get older. Probably by middle school, people are going to be making fun of them for something in their lunch, right? So I think giving our kids tools as they grow and develop to be able to know how to talk about what they eat and resilience. And resilience is bullying. Right. It's hard, but it's important, and it relates to food, how they look, how they dress, all these different things, right? So I think, one instance comes to mind. We've always talked about how orange carrots help you see in the dark, and that's because there's vitamin A in the carrots, which is necessary for night vision. And if you're deficient in vitamin A, then you're you will lose your night vision if you're deficient enough. So we always talk about how carrots help you see in the dark. And we went to the pool last summer, and I had brought some carrot sticks and some watermelon and stuff. And there was a boy there, and we were all sitting at this table, and there's this other boy, and we invited him over to have some snacks with us because he was just kind of sitting there. And I offered him some carrot sticks, and he said, "Ew, carrot sticks are gross." And my older son looked at him, and he was like, "Carrots help you see in the dark." And he like crunched on the carrot. And then the kid was like, "Oh, okay." And he ate some carrots. I mean, I'm not going to promise that that's always going to go that way, but he had the tools he needed at the time to be like, "I don't care that you think these are gross. I like them. And I even have a reason," right?
Right. That's a super power to see in the dark.
Giving kids tools as they get older is helpful.
I love that. And that's interesting because my night vision has gotten worse, and I just started a vitamin A supplement. So I'm going to get on some more carrots too. I didn't know that. I thought it was just me being old, my eyesight going bad, but I love all this information.
Now, if you're not vitamin A deficient, then it is probably related to something else. But if you are deficient in vitamin A, it could have an effect.
And I was, so, but I had to get tested to find that out. So, and with kids, a lot of times you have no idea. You're just guessing like, but you just feed them as many nutrient, rich things you can. So there are so many questions on here. And actually my vice president of Bloom Mom Tribe, she and this other gal, they have the same problem. Their kids will only eat carbs. So pasta, crackers, no veggies, no dairy, nothing mixed. And so a lot of people want your opinion on how to get the fruits and veggies in there instead of the carbs and the pasta.
Yeah. So often when there's like extreme picky eating, so they've like dropped off all fruits, all vegetables, all protein. Often there is a really, there's a real picky eating problem there. And it's really important when you're in that situation, one, if you're observing it, not to blame the parents because you have no idea what's going on. And two, if you are a parent, not to give yourself a hard time because this is likely something that is developing because of things that are really outside of your control. So I always like to start with that because there's a lot of judgment around picky eating, like, "Oh, well, you just don't know how to parent or you don't know how to feed your kids right." That's not substantiated by evidence. The evidence suggests that there's something else going on. So yeah, usually if you have a kid who's only eating a few food groups, it means that they're having trouble with their sensory experience around food in some way or another. And so what we do, and like what I do in my Better Bites program, which is specifically for families who are struggling with picky eating, is to kind of walk parents through. There's a bunch of different things that we do. First, we kind of look at the home feeding environment. Are you as the parent in charge of the feeding situation in your house? And is your child in charge of whether they're eating and what they're eating? And not choosing what to eat, but whether or not they eat. And are they allowed to choose how much they eat? Once we establish that, a lot of stress usually goes away, and kids and people then become able to then move on to the next phase, which is actually addressing therapeutic approaches to food exposure. Because when you have a kid who's struggling with picky eating and it's related to their sensory experience, they can't just, I have some my leftover lunch area, they can't just like pick up a piece of broccoli and eat it. That would be a very almost like traumatic experience for them if that's a food that they don't like. So instead of expecting a kid to just pick up a piece of broccoli and eat it, or somehow hide it and hope they don't figure it out, which usually doesn't work, instead we bring them through the phases of exposure where we teach them how to engage their senses with different foods. We teach them how to do that in a way that is non-pressuring, non-threatening. We take the fear aspect out of eating and help them to become more comfortable with these healthier foods like fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing. And then we begin to expand. So we use food chains, we use food fading, we use all these techniques to help them build bridges to new foods so that they can begin to touch it, smell it, lick it, taste it, and eventually when they're ready, eat it. But there's not like a quick fix for a picky eater. It's definitely a process, and it can be a long process, but it can be done in a way that like relieves the stress from your plate initially.
And for the child too. Now, I've read on some of your posts that you don't, you'll set something new out, but you won't force your kids. How do you at home yourself, for your two boys, do you force them to try a bite of something new? Do you let them choose? What do you see is the best way for us parents out here to approach it if we are in that position?
Yeah, so the research suggests pretty clearly that the best way to kind of deal with picky eating and prevent like problems from occurring is to provide a structure where like my kids don't get to choose what we eat unless I give them a choice or ask them. But they choose whether to eat it or not.
Okay.
Like they don't have to try a bite. Now there are some cultures where the whole culture has kids try a bite of food. And unless your kid has extreme sensory issues, that works. In the United States, we don't have a really strong culture of that. And so what I find is that causes like having the 1 bite rule or the 3 bite rule. I recently talked to somebody who had an 8 bite rule, whatever that is. I find that it causes battles, it causes stress, it causes fear of foods, and then it makes the kids less likely to want to eat it later. Instead, if you just tell them they don't have to eat it, I've been amazed at what my kids have been willing to try because they know they don't have to eat it.
It's a good, yeah.
There's no battle when you say
switch, little psychological switch there.
Yeah, and it takes all the power struggle out, right? Because they're like, oh, she told me I don't have to eat it, so I can't like fight with her because there's no fight. There's no fighting.
Well, and I'm sure at this point you probably don't have this problem, but if they don't eat it and they don't eat enough, then what do you do? Say you don't get anything for dinner, or you don't get a snack later, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I always provide a safe food and as much portion as they would like to eat at every meal and snack.
Okay.
Using other things as like a reward for eating really causes kids to stop listening to their body cues. So it is key in this day and age when there is so much, like low nutrient dense food floating around and so many opportunities to eat. We really need our kids to be able to listen to their bodies and to know when they're hungry, when they're full, when something makes them feel sick or disgusted or good or whatever. So we need our kids to have that skill. And when we set other foods up as like a bribe, like dessert, eat this dinner and then you get dessert. Well, what we're telling our kids is like, even if you're full or whatever, they will eat whatever to get that dessert. Some kids will, some kids won't. But it's teaching them not to listen to their body. So when we teach our kids that, they lose that skill of self-regulation, and then that causes them to eat amounts of food later that are not necessarily what their body needs.
Right. Oh, geez. Yeah. And I can picture that. Yeah, that's huge. Okay. Several people had questions about elderberry. One said, what are your thoughts about the syrup, the gummies, all the elderberry? How do you use it?
Yeah, so elderberry syrup changed our life.
Did it?
It did. But I always have to remind people, one, that everything has an upside and a downside. So especially as a professional, it is absolutely important for me to remind you, if you have an autoimmune disorder, you need to talk to your doctor before you use something like elderberry that stimulates the immune system. It is generally contraindicated for anybody with an autoimmune condition. It's if you're pregnant or nursing, you definitely need to talk to your provider. And then if you suspect any sort of allergy, it's also not well studied in children. Okay. So when we use it for children, we are going on kind of like case studies and the fact that other people have used it, but we need to be aware that it hasn't been studied in children. So we can't feel 100% confident that it's safe. I did choose to use it, have chosen to use it with my kids. We don't also understand the long-term effects. So we don't know if I take this every day, is it going to help me or is it going to hurt me? We don't know because people haven't been taking it long-term enough to even know. There is some pretty decent research showing that if you take it at the onset of a viral illness, that it decreases the severity and duration of that illness. So it's been studied a few times with like the flu. And so if you think you're getting the flu, or if you think you're getting a virus of some sort, you take the elderberry at the therapeutic dose on the bottle. You'll have to check your bottle because different bottles have different doses. And then it can decrease the severity and duration. There's no research showing that if you just give it every day during the year, it's going to like magically stop you from getting sick. There's also not very good research showing that it helps with bacterial illnesses. I've also not really observed it to be that helpful for them. So it depends on what you have. When I notice my kids getting sick with what I think is a virus, which seems like mostly my kids get viruses, I will give them the therapeutic dose that's on the bottle until their symptoms resolve. So usually for a couple days.
Oh, of a syrup. Of the syrup.
There's also gummies. We've used the gummies too. Those are really convenient for traveling.
Oh yeah, they are. Although they're horrible for your teeth. When you give kids gummy vitamins, it is, I'm sorry, but it's so bad for your children's teeth.
Yeah, gummies are one of the leading causes of cavities. So you have to keep that in mind. Now for us, like if we're on an airplane and I know my kids get sick every single time we're on an airplane, so I know they're getting sick, I may choose to use gummies during travel because obviously syrup is a no-go.
Right. And just the like, here, grab the gummies. Another trick that I heard from a flight attendant, and so when I remember I do this, is to take a little Q-tip of Aquaphor or Vaseline or anything and just gently rub it around the inside of your nostrils before you get on the plane, because then the bugs in the air can't, go up your nose and make you sick.
I love it.
Hopefully. But yeah, I've heard that from several flight attendants since I found out about it. Okay, I'm going down here to see, someone has a question about potty training. And she's wondering just about how to help her kiddo be more regular. And is there anything other than prune juice that you recommend? Geez, you get questions from all over the board, don't you?
Yeah, so prune juice is great. Their apple juice can be helpful for some kids. Also, most fruits and vegetables. I do have a post on my feed called the Constipation Plate, and it just shows like a whole bunch of different foods. Obviously, high fiber foods, high liquid, like lots of water and lots of movement are all really important. I will say, if your child has a problem with constipation, that actually changes the bowel, changes the shape. And so it usually needs to be resolved medically, usually with medication, with the oversight of a pediatrician, to get things regulated. And once that happens, then you can continue with diet. So a high fiber diet will prevent constipation. But once you have a constipation problem, diet alone usually isn't enough to resolve it.
Yes, so true. Okay, we have those issues at my house. Hate to talk about potty talk here or poopy talk, but it's the truth. And all of my kids and myself have always had constipation issues. Okay, Allison, XOXOX. I love your handle, Allison. She wants you to talk about desserts. And do you give more when kids ask for more, if that's what you've chosen to serve? Just looking for more guidance because her daughter has a serious sweet tooth. And so do I, and so does my 11-year-old. And I make it worse sometimes. Like, here, look what I brought.
Well, I think it's okay to be excited about sweet foods, especially if you enjoy them and that sort of thing. What's important is that we don't like add to the fascination with sweet foods by like using them as a bribe for things or a reward. So the more we use sweet foods as a reward or a bribe, the more amazing they become in our minds. So if I do serve, I frequently will choose to serve dessert with a meal to take it off the pedestal. So it's just there. And when I do serve it with a meal, I serve a child-sized portion and I don't offer a second.
Okay.
But let's say maybe I'm serving cookies and milk as a snack, then I would normally just let them eat as many as they wanted to fill up on that snack, as if that's what I was offering. But the more variety that's there, the more you're just kind of like, hey, this is just another food, and it helps get off that pedestal.
Now, okay, I like that, the pedestal idea. Now, here's my worry is I've seen, you know, my 11-year-old, you hand him a bag of chips, he'll just keep eating because he's mindlessly eating. And I could see that happening with me and a box of Girl Scout cookies and a lot of other people. So how do you literally just hand them however many they want, or you set out like 3 and they might ask for a couple more cookies, or do you just hand them the bag and say, here, chow down?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't hand them the bag. One, my kids would still spill it.
Oh yeah.
But also, no, you want to like, what we want to do is promote intentional mindful eating all the time. And one of the ways that we do that is by having a meal routine where we know when meals and snacks generally are. And when we sit down, we first have a small serving. Like, using small servings can be super important for everyone, adults, kids, everyone. And when we, so I would maybe give them, I mean, depends on their age and size, but like an 11-year-old, maybe I would give 3 cookies. Depends on the kid, right? Maybe 2 cookies and some milk, or maybe 2 cookies and some milk and whatever. Or maybe we're all sitting around the table and there's a plate of cookies there and we all start with 1 and then we decide if we want another one. But we really want to promote this idea of like listening to when we're hungry and when we're full, even in the context of eating cookies. So eating chips out of a bag while watching TV, it's better to eat at the table without any distractions. And that's part of creating a healthy feeding environment where we're eating, when we eat at the table. Well, in our house, we eat at the table or in the kitchen, and we don't have any screens, or music is distracting for my kids, but it helps other kids focus. Mm-hmm. So we don't have any screens. We don't have any toys. We just eat and we interact with each other, and then we get down and we do something else.
Okay, I like that. So while I look for a few more questions, tell us about what are your kids' favorite fruits and vegetables?
It really varies on the day. You know, I will say my kids eat a pretty big variety at this point, but it's always changing. You know, you think, oh, he loves avocados. He ate avocados 3 days in a row, and then you feed it to him and he's like, I hate avocados. Yeah. But yesterday, like, kids just do that, and that's actually a good thing. I mean, what that means is, as humans, we have this instinct to eat a variety of foods. Like, if we eat something several days in a row, we'll want to eat something else, right? So that's good, because the more variety of foods we eat, the wider our variety of nutrients that we get in our diet.
What fruits and vegetables do you see you buy at the store the most every week?
So I actually have a free veggie shopping list that I give out. So if you want,
oh, you froze.
.com/veggie list.
Can you repeat that? You froze.
The V. Oh, sure. It's it's bit.ly.com/ veggie list with a capital V and a capital L. I can send that to you if you want, but yeah. So I mean, I try to get a variety, but obviously broccoli is a big one for me. I would say, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, cabbage, cucumber, bell peppers, kale, or some sort of green or something, lettuce, spinach. We try to really get all those different colors into the fridge, because if they're in the fridge, we're more likely to eat them, obviously.
Right. Okay, so Shay Z Breezy says she's in search of advice and opinions on before bedtime snacks. How many hours before bed should we cut off snacks, and what type of foods should be encouraged and avoided before bed?
So I like meals and snacks to theoretically be more or less the same. So like food, as opposed, you can definitely include, quote, snack food, but I don't like to serve snack food all by itself if it can be avoided. Mm-hmm. Because then kids will just skip dinner because they know they're getting a cookie afterwards for bedtime snack. So instead, if they know they're getting hummus and cucumbers, then if they're eating it, it's because they're hungry. And usually something like that, or apples and peanut butter, they're not skipping dinner just so they can get apples and just so they can fill up on apples and peanut butter. But if if, you know, they were, you know, they needed something, or, you know, for some reason dinner didn't agree with them or something like that, then they would have an option of something that's balanced. So I usually recommend to always do bedtime snack or never do it.
One or the other.
Because if you're only doing it sometimes, that just opens up a lot of drama opportunities. And also it can lead to this sort of thing where kids are not eating dinner just to get their snack. Right. We always do bedtime snack, and that's because my kids will always wake up. One of my kids will always wake up in the night hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a kid who's always, and by always I mean like 80% of the time that you don't give them a snack, they're waking up in the middle of the night or like 4 a.m. or something hungry. That's usually an indication that they're not getting enough calories and they need something else between dinner and bedtime. That's why we do it. And, you know, it all really depends on your kid. And so so we always have a bedtime snack. But if you find that your kid doesn't really need it, I mean, you can always make an exception now and then, but I really recommend keeping that to a minimum so that it doesn't become a thing where they're skipping dinner just to have their peanut butter and jelly sandwich or whatever.
Right. Okay, that's really great information. Coming down. Oops. All right. All righty. The Life Struck said she likes the story. What kid doesn't want to see in the dark? So true. Okay. About the carrots. Jamie says, can you chat about hydration? My 6-year-old doesn't like to drink water. We do milk or water at meals, only occasionally juice. It's impacting his health because he struggles with constipation.
Yeah, so if you are dealing with a medical issue like constipation, finding some way to get them to drink water is really important, even if you have to go to juice. Now, that's not obviously my first choice, but in the face of a medical issue, you've got to get those fluids in them. So you could do like a game where you have a clear water bottle and you could say, hey, can you drink to this band, and put like a rubber band around it. You could try like some sort of sticker chart, or like, hey, we're going to drink this many ounces today. Let's see, you know, after you drink the ounces, you get a little sticker. You could try some form of like highly diluted juice. There's also things you could put in water. You could do like put some fruit or some veggies in there to give it some flavor. You could also try, I find that sometimes kids don't like the taste of tap water. So if you get like a water filter, that could help.
Yeah.
Anything to kind of alter that taste a little bit.
You can really taste the difference between tap water and a filtered water. One idea that I've used because of our constipation issues is sugar-free, like sorbet type of popsicle things. So it seems strange because you're not drinking it, but it ends up being liquid down there. And so what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's great.
You know, kind of sugar-free popsicle.
Yeah, you basically, I mean, you have to find a way, because obviously constipation just causes so many issues. So doing whatever you have to do to get that fluid in is important.
Right. And then making sure too that you're not feeding your kid things that will cause more constipation, like bananas and things like that, right? What are the things that you find are the top things for causing that?
Well, it really depends on the person. So, I mean, if you go with like a highly ripe banana, it's not going to cause constipation, but like a low ripe banana will. It really, really depends. But I just like to focus on trying to get those fruits and veggies in and the high fiber foods.
Right. Right. Do you mostly steam veggies or saute or bake? What do you do? Just a little bit of everything?
Sauteed veggies can be really hard for little kids to chew. So we do a lot of steam roasting still, which is where I roast it in a pan, but then I cover it with foil. And that still like creates a kind of like a browning, like that roasted flavor, but then it also is steamed a little bit. We also just do plain steamed. And how else do it? Raw too.
And so what did you send your child to school with today in Planet Box?
Oh,
the oldest one.
My stories, if you want to go check it out.
Oh, it is. Okay.
There's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in one of them. Actually, I think they both had that. Some veggies, a couple of like those little pea cracker things. Some dried blueberries, I think. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
You just add water on the side?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But I think the beauty of what you do is that you make everything look fun. So you've got cute little jars or little cutouts, you know, kiwi stars, or like I'll do a heart-shaped, you know, you use cookie cutters. It doesn't have to be for cookies. Heart-shaped peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it's all about just making it look more attractive and fun for the kids. What is one of their favorite?
You don't have to spend a lot of time. There's like a lot of little hacks that you can do. Like you can cut out one star and send the rest without stars, and it still looks cute, but it's sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of little hacks that you can do where, you know, you use a silicone muffin cup and it's brightly colored and it looks really fun, but that doesn't take you any extra time.
Oh, that's what you use for your fruit. Okay, I was wondering what that was in one of those pictures, and I thought I needed to ask you. Okay, let me see if there are a couple more questions, and then we'll let you go, because I'm sure I know you have to go actually. Should my tiny 3-year-old still drink whole milk? How about we'll end that with that question, because I know you need to go.
Right. I think that should be fine. I do still feed my kids whole milk based on their activity levels and all that. You don't have to. You can also choose to do a lower fat milk and just add fat into other things that they're eating. I love to add like extra olive oil when I make pasta. I just like dump it on, or, you know, anytime we make oatmeal or do a smoothie, I'm always putting a little bit of avocado oil in there, adding coconut oil to things. So if you do want to cut back to 2% milk, it's fine, but just make sure that you're providing extra calories from fat in other places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You are so full of good information. Okay, people, you need to be following Kids Eat in Color and Jennifer Anderson, and you also have a shopping list. You have so many things. You have so many resources. So friends, go, run to Kids Eat in Color so that you can have a nice dinner tonight without a whole lot of problem.
I should have mentioned, I do have a free picky eater guide in my profile right now. So if you just need some basic tips where you're like, I'm struggling with picky eating, but I need a couple tips to like get me going in the right direction, that is for you. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom. I think that people are going to walk away with a lot of answered questions, and I just appreciate you so much hopping on. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Thank you so much. Great afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks everybody for joining us.